I didn't want to make this video. Really, I didn't. I just wanted to make a fun Christmas review for all of you, maybe some DuckTales themed videos, and then just enjoy my Christmas holiday. But no. I'm making this video. And as I'm sure you can tell by the title, it's a pretty interesting video. I'm sure everyone can agree that the internet is basically, how do I describe this? In a very unfortunate place. You could argue it's been in that place since 2016, but let's be honest, I like to think that it's been there since 2015, but there's a lot of problems going around, not just on the internet, but in the real world as well. Hatred in other countries, brutality, and even in my home country of America, people just accuse each other of just horrible things, and it honestly saddens me because I want people to be nice to each other. And I'm sure that even in this video of genuinely good intentions is going to get some hate, but that's beside the point. I wanted to make this video because I'm worried about 2020. More specifically, the decade itself. I'm 16, which means in just 2 years, I'm going to be an adult. And I'm going to have to move out of the nest and, live on my own. And I'm very nervous for the world in 2020. Everyone envisioned 2020 to be this big, bombastic, futuristic world that no one thought we would be able to get to. But we're only just a few weeks away, and it's far from the future that we thought. I'm not sure what the future entails, but in general, the main thing I'm worried about is how humanity is gonna act toward each other. There's been basically universal hatred going on all around the globe. There's only been small acts of kindness and small groups of people that support each other, but a dark cloud of just hatred and anger just looming over the whole race. I'm legitimately not trying to sound preachy. I'm just legitimately worried. So, I made this video to say, how would I ensure that 2020 is at least is a good year, and how can I ensure that 2020 is a good decade? The 2010s, at least the first half, was fairly decent. The later half, I think that in terms of entertainment was fairly good, but in terms of the relationship between humans, I feel like that just greatly deteriorated. So I wanted to make this video that's basically how would I ensure that my faith in humanity gets restored. I don't think humanity's doomed. I just think that it's going down a dark path. The first change I would make is that this may sound pretty bad, but I would shut down Twitter. I genuinely believe that while Twitter started out as a legitimately good app, I feel like all it's just done is just allow people to say horrible things or threaten people or threaten the most horrible abominations of mankind anonymously. Just do it without any threat. And on the other end, celebrities have made pretty bad posts, but they've apologized for them, but people have been able to dig them up and basically exile them from human interaction until they apologize for something they already did. So, in terms of social media, the major change that I would make is that I would straight up shut down Twitter as a whole and never bring it back up again. Platforms like YouTube or Facebook or Instagram would still be there since they're fairly tame in comparison, but Twitter would just be straight up destroyed. The second change I would make is that I would have I would have humans I would basically have it so that the internet is, how do I describe this? I would have a similar take to the ending of Ready Player One. I'd have the internet like have certain people only be allowed to be on the internet for a certain amount of hours. But like if they use the internet for work, then yeah, they're still able to use it as free as they want. But essentially, I would have people have a finite amount of times they can be on the internet for a day, and then they have to actually spend the rest of their day having human interaction or just talking with their friends or their family. I genuinely believe that the internet was a good invention, but it's allowed a lot of people to just stay inside and just not move, and honestly legitimately saddens me. So I would have people have set legitimate finite amounts that they're allowed to be on the internet or devices and have them interact with humans more. The second change that I would want to make is that I would have I would have fandoms as a whole. I would basically create some I would create a platform that would allow fandoms to vent their frustration in one specific part, but it would allow them to see different perspectives, and it would allow them to not try to attack anyone or try to hurt anyone. I genuinely believe that fandoms as a whole have basically gone from a legitimately great thing to be a part of to a 50-50 between still a legitimately great thing to be a part of or just an endless rabbit hole of hatred. I mean, there's a legitimate group that is entirely dedicated to hating Lucasfilm because they created The Last Jedi, and it's like I will personally admit I was a part of that group for a period of time. I was like, yeah, screw Lucasfilm, they suck. But I realized that, yeah, I admit they still do suck, but they're a company. What are you gonna do? Yeah, you can make them not make them, but you can allow them to learn from their mistakes. But again, they're a company, and we're just fans. And I think the main thing that annoys me is that legitimate fans are able to express their criticism in a fair and respectful manner, and still respect the creator or the people that worked on the project, but um, they can still bring up legitimate criticisms, and the creator can listen to them and improve upon them. However, with some fandoms, all they seem to do is complain or attack people. Like like one specific example is like, as much as I hate to say it, the Steven Universe fandom for a long time. I love Steven Universe. I love the movie. I love Steven Universe Future. I love the characters. And yes, while I admit that the Pink Diamond twist was a very surprising move, I believe that the Steven Universe, most of the fandom, is a pretty good thing. However, there are select people that honestly kind of make the Steven Universe fandom very embarrassing. And of course, the Star Wars fandom is legitimately at war with each other. I mean, they're basically at war without the bloodshed, and it's not like, I swear, it's like I have this weird trait where I tend to tend to make things dramatic, but I'm just legitimately pleading like I don't want people to hate each other. I want people to be a bit more respectful and not attack people because they don't share the same opinion or they didn't make something the way they wanted. And it honestly breaks my heart to see the state of fandoms that are in right now. And I believe I believe that a way that you can do this is have fandoms communicate a bit more respectfully. Like, you would like don't frame it as their enemies. Frame it as they're on the same side, but they just have different points of view. They both like for example, for example, in the terms of Star Wars, a lot of people did not like The Last Jedi. Admittedly, including me. I think it's a bad movie. However, while I think it's a bad movie and did tarnish the legacy, I do not think it is worth insulting. Like, I don't think I don't think it's worth going on a witch hunt for Rian Johnson. Like, he may be a bit of a troll, but again, he's human. You shouldn't try to. And again, he had his own vision. Admittedly, that vision kind of didn't work for Star Wars, but like, I don't know. The fandom portion of this video got way too long, but in conclusion, and it's this portion is probably gonna piss off a lot of people, but in conclusion, I want fandoms to communicate a lot more clearly with each other, and in some cases, even the creator to communicate clearly with the fandom, so that he or she is able to let them know their point of view and make sure that the creator and the fandom are still in stable condition. And yeah, another thing that I would do is that make it basically an unofficial rule, and I'm not going to dwell long on this because I know this is a sensitive subject. Make it an unofficial rule that your political beliefs have to stay private. Like, whoever you vote for, that's your decision. But you shouldn't, similar to the fandom thing, you shouldn't attack people because they voted for a different president. I will personally admit that our current president, how do I describe that? He's not George Washington. He's not Abraham Lincoln. He's his own president, but I'm not even old enough to vote, so who am I to criticize him? A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people like him. I mean, heck, people of my own family like him. And people of my own family don't like him. And it's very hard to discuss him without at least having a very heated debate. And I think it would basically be an unofficial rule that that when you're around people, your political beliefs have to stay private until you legitimately get to know the person. Like, you don't tell them I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat in your first meeting. Have that basically just be a basic conduct rule. Another thing that I would improve is that I'd have a lot more, I'd have schools teach kids, in addition to stuff like math or history or English, they teach them stuff that they would need to learn, such as taxes or court trials or how to pay college tuition and stuff like that. In addition to the normal stuff like English, history, math, maybe Spanish. Oh yeah, Spanish. Make that a mandatory class that you have to learn in middle school to from middle school to the end of high school, because I think that it would actually help a lot of kids that have them be bilingual since middle school. And I genuinely believe that not only teaching kids subjects that would legitimately help them learn and help them succeed as an adult, not only would that be useful, it would also be worth the student going to school. Which reminds me that this category would basically be improving schools as a whole. Which would also remind me that a major thing is that they would have to basically, schools would have, with a zero tolerance policy, would have to reevaluate themselves, because, especially for bullying, schools as a whole need to reevaluate themselves on their bullying policy so that it's better, and that the student that gets bullied does not end up get punished. Only the bully ends up getting punished. As a person who was bullied mercilessly himself, which I won't get into here, I can say that it is crap being bullied, and to have some teachers just ignore you when you're pleading, when you're asking them for help, it sucks. So I would have schools teach teachers how to handle a basic bullying situation. Have stuff like how to handle a verbal confrontation, how to handle a physical confrontation, stuff like that. And I'd have them basically improve their anti-bullying policy. Because, put it this way, admittedly, most bullies are not pure evil. Some of them enjoy hurting people, but a lot of them have a bad home life or just hang around bad people. And I think rather than and how do I say this? Rather than villainizing the bully or ignoring the victim, you would support the victim, but get the bully help. And yes, you would have to punish him by say, instead of suspending him, let's say maybe have him or her go to a counselor, have them talk to them, and they'd be able to discuss their problems in a safe environment, so that they don't get severely punished for acting out. They still get punished, but they basically don't end up having their lives ruined because they were bullied. Now, believe me, I'm not defending bullies. I'm simply saying that I do not want bullies to have their lives ruined because teachers didn't evaluate them right, and I don't want victims to be ignored because teachers didn't evaluate them right. To sum it up, I'd basically have teachers understand how to handle bullying situations and have them understand the bully's personal life better, so that they're able to teach him, that they're able to allow him or her to be in a safe location, and that they're actually able to grow as a better person. And another small thing that I would add is that I would just have it be so that every person has to have a required daily good deed. And it's not taking out the trash. Let's say every day they have to give a legitimate compliment to someone. And it's if they don't do it, then their internet, it gets cut off for an hour or something like that. But I think that having the idea of each person, at the very least in the US, have a daily good deed would definitely go a long way. And lastly, I just think that, and this is probably the most important thing, is that in general, I'd have people stop arguing about stuff and stop complaining and yelling and threatening and antagonizing, and just calm down, relax, and try to look at the good stuff. As the saying goes, for every rain cloud, there's always a silver lining. Or at the end of every hurricane, there's a rainbow. I firmly believe that with the exception of a few specific situations, you can always look on the bright side of a situation. You can always find positives. Heck, I can find at least one positive in the movie Food Fight, and that's that Charlie Sheen, his voice acting is admittedly kind of hilarious, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, overall, I just have people act nicer toward one another and I'd have them not try to hurt each other and just try to support one another. And this video may sound like I'm complaining, but I'm legitimately making suggestions about how to improve humanity as a whole and just how to make 2020 not a sucky decade. And I didn't want this video to come off as me complaining, but rather to come off as me suggesting. Again, you're free to have your own opinion. You're free to dislike this video. You're free to just ignore this video. You're free to not like the contents of this video. I can't control you. You do what you want. But I made this video because I feel like the world has forgotten a key. I feel like the world, specifically people on the internet, have forgotten one key human value. They've forgotten how to love thy neighbor. I know I'm technically quoting one of the one of the commandments, but I believe that love thy neighbor is a very important rule when it comes to human interaction. As God said, it is the second most important rule to ever follow, both as a Christian and as a human. And people have just forgotten how to love their neighbor or love their friends. They've just always been focusing on the negatives. And well, with this year coming to an end, I want the 2020s to be a good decade. I mean, the 2010s were literally like the first half was literally my childhood and the second half was my adolescence. So much happened in this year, and I'm honestly a bit bummed out at the state of people in 2019, especially so close to the end. And I genuinely want to make sure that 2020 is a good decade, not just for me, but for everyone else. So maybe, like I said a few lines ago, a daily good deed always goes a long way, and I believe that using these guidelines as like a person, like if you're annoyed about something, you can just stop and breathe, and if it legitimately annoys you or angers you, you can just stop and breathe and walk away from it. And if you need help, you can talk to someone about it and stuff like that. And I just I want the world to be a good place, and I know that in its current state, it's not. It's not a good place, both to live and to be in. Like, I'm sure the people joking of, man, I want to move to Mars, some of them are joking. Some of them are like, yeah, sign me up for the next ride to Mars. I'm going there and I'm never going back. It honestly saddens me. You could say the point of this video is less of a complaining video and more of a suggestion video of how humanity can make 2020 a legitimately good decade. I know I repeat myself, but what the hell. Anyway, I wanted to make this video because, like I said at the beginning, I felt like I had to. And I know pretty much no one is going to see this video. No one's going to give a damn about this video, but it doesn't hurt to try and reach out and try and spread the good word and try and do good in this world. Who knows? Maybe you can do some good too.